So this morning I had a good cry, and it made me think of my healing journey and growth journey, and how I couldn't cry before. And to me, growth and healing has been to be able to cry naturally once again. So in the past, like, I repressed sadness, and I repressed, like, whenever I would whenever I was upset, I wouldn't cry, I would hold it in. So I couldn't really cry naturally. I kind of forgot how to cry. And even though things would make me feel sad, it's like the tears didn't happen on its own. Like, unless it was something major. Like, when my dad passed away, all of a sudden, I remember crying, like, for days. But it had to be really huge things that broke me for me to be able to cry. And in the past, I needed to I needed to kind of force myself to cry whenever I felt so dense, and it was like my capacity for holding in tears was about to explode. Then I would make myself cry. And what I used to do was I would have days where I would put on songs that would really, like, hit my soul and hit my heart, and that would make me cry. And I did this regularly, like, I don't know, like a few times a month or once a month, depends like when it was. But whenever I felt like, oh my God, I'm really heavy and I really need to cry, I would put on songs. And for me, ones that really reached my heart were gospel music and soul music, like Aretha Franklin, um, and yeah, like things that would touch my heart. They're not necessarily sad songs, but it was just really beautiful, heartfelt songs, soul music. And it was like I would remember my soul again, my spirit again, because I used to be more disconnected. So these songs would trigger these feelings again that I would be suppressing and avoiding, and then I could cry, release. So, yeah, like that was at the beginning of my healing journey, my reconnection to myself. Well, no, actually, it wasn't at the very beginning. That I used to do that until up to 4 years ago. And as I went further and further into myself, deeper and deeper into myself, and I began accepting myself more and loving myself more unconditionally, then I began to be able to cry naturally. It was like maybe a combination of things, but I was holding space for emotions and I was allowing emotions, and like without needing to push myself to feel, because I was feeling more naturally. I was allowing myself to feel more naturally. I could cry again. And so, like, over the last 4 years, when I've gone even more into myself, I'd say I've been on this journey since 2017, but it's especially in the last 4 years that I've gone deeper and deeper. And yeah, like tears, I'm more accepting of crying because in my household, my dad was the one who cried a lot, and I could feel his shame for being emotional and for crying, and I also felt like my mom was judging him for crying, and I didn't want to be judged by my mom, so I held my tears. Really, I kept it to myself most of the time, unless I couldn't. And yeah, like as I healed all these different parts of myself and brought more love into myself. And as unconditional love and acceptance became part of my normal life or part of my life, then like whenever I feel like crying, I can cry usually, or when something upsets me, when something makes me sad, even things that move me, like I'm shedding tears naturally. And that's been like an incredible growth for me. There are times when I feel heavy and I feel like tears are gonna come, but I can't cry. And it's like, oh, like I want to cry, but it's not happening right now. And when that happens, usually I just have to wait a while until something triggers it to come out. But I notice like I'm not holding days where I'm sitting at my computer putting music on so that I can cry. It just happens naturally. Sometimes it takes more time, but it does happen. And sometimes I will like listen to music that has helped me cry in the past to cleanse, to purge tears, and to clear myself, like if I want to. But that was part of my journey, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that just because I don't do it now. Like it was so helpful for me to get used to releasing and letting go and being vulnerable and feeling again and crying again. And like now compared to the past, like I'm such a crybaby, but it's more natural, and I have nothing against crying. So yeah, it's my journey, and healing and growth looks different for everybody. It's very unique, just like your life. It's very unique, and this is a unique part of my journey. This is how my journey looks and looked. And also when it comes to crying, if you're someone who's sensitive and absorbs a lot from their environment, absorbs a lot of other people's feelings, I really recommend holding days where you can cry and let everything go. Because when I used to work in the mental health field, I was working in the poorest part of Canada in addictions and mental health and homelessness, mental health housing. And there was always like some chaos and drama and really dense emotions. And I needed those times when I could actually release people's like heaviness and people's emotions, because a lot of them weren't mine. And combined with that, I was carrying a lot of dense emotions too from being in an environment where there is a lot of chaos and trauma and violence, mental health issues. So that time when I would make myself cry was really, really useful. And I hope that maybe this is a seed for somebody's practice to reconnect with themselves and to feel again. If it resonates with you, and I said feel again, didn't I? Yeah. So I hope something I mentioned in this video helps you on your journey of reconnection and getting back to your natural self. And if you have any comments, questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thanks for listening.